Brakthia Hawu, Brakthia Shai, Brakthia Hawu, Brakthia Shai, Brakthia Hawu, Brakthia Hawu, Bashim Shai, Bahashim, Kalkadash. I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Of course, salutations to the hopeful elect out there, man. You Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shaman. And this week's topic is going to be entitled either the cat's out the bag or the truth on the death of Qasem Soleimani. Got to put it out there, right? From the beginning that, look, this thing that we're teaching is about the Bible first and foremost, all right? We don't really care about Qasem Soleimani. He's not an Israelite, right? But the events leading up to his death and the post-aftermath effects of his death fit into Bible prophecy because, one, the scriptures speak about nations, the beast hating the whore, all right? Pretty much all these different allied nations are going to come against that whore that's sitting upon the scarlet-colored beast, which that whore is America. That same filthy woman that you read about in the book of Revelations is that same woman that was abased in the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. From a queenly-like state to one of the most menial job in society, all right, which is to grind mill, from a queen to grinding mill, you know, as it says in the book of Exodus, from the highest of Pharaoh to the maidens that grind mill, okay? Now, what's causing these different nations to hate America, and how does that link up with the death of Qasem Soleimani? Well, the truth has been put out there that, look, Qasem Soleimani's death was not because of a preemptive attack, which that concept of a preemptive attack is wicked in itself. Isaiah the 10th chapter, first verse, you know. The things that the so-called white man prescribe and put into law are grievous, man. All right? And eventually it's esteemed as a potter's clay, which a potter's clay is not esteemed, okay? Kings are esteemed, you know. Royalty is esteemed. Who gives two shits about a potter's clay, all right? So the stuff that the so-called white man is passing and putting into law is not esteemed, man. Okay? But they blame the situation of that K-1 air base that was bombed, all right, as a preemptive strike by the PMU, all right, which is an Iraqi militia that is backed by Iran, but they're not really backed by Iran, as I said in the previous lesson. They're doing their own thing, all right, but they have mutual interest, and Iran will help them out from here and there. But the news is bringing out the fact that, look, the type of, you have two type of Muslims, okay? You have the Sunni and the Shia, right, over there in the Middle East. The dominant one is Sunni Muslims. Now you have the smaller majority, which is Shia, which is what makes up a bulk of Iraq and Iran Muslims. Now that shit is like deadly out there, all right? Now they're saying, wait a minute, why would the PMU attack a K-1 air base when, one, they're allied in the same situation, and two, the Shia Muslim, you know, they'll get, it'll be hard for them to go out in that area. And of course, it's been revealed now that it's more likely that ISIS did it. Now, if you watch my previous lesson, all right, ISIS is pretty much hand in hand with the Mossad, man, all right? In fact, Israeli secret intelligence service is what the Mossad call himself, which is ISIS. And it's been proven that you have Mossad agents, all right, that go undercover as Wahhabi extremists. Prime example, Shimon Elliott, who posed as Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, okay? And he's just one of many. And the so-called Jew have been doing that. When I say so-called Jew, the reason I call them so-called Jews is because according to the Bible, the real Jews are the Negroes you see here in America. all right, that have been scattered all throughout the world and have discontinued from their heritage, has been prophesied in the book of Deuteronomy 28th chapter, okay, because of what they did in their past life. When I say they, I'm also including that because I myself am a Jew, all right, of the tribe of Benjamin. But if you want to get technical, the Jew is the Negroes primarily, but the Negroes, West Indian and Haitians have been grouped together as all Jews thanks to the Babylonian captivity, okay? So these so-called Jews, primarily amongst the sect of the so-called Jews, you have something called Zionist, all right, which is a certain belief. Now, not every so-called Jew is a Zionist, man. In fact, you have so-called Jews, rabbis, that oppose Zionism, all right? They oppose the idea that state legislation should make them the rightful heir to that land. You have certain rabbi Jews that believe the Messiah is going to bring them in that land. So they're still waiting on the Lord to come back. However, the Lord did come back, all right, which he's also a so-called black man. Hebrews 7:14, he sprung out the tribe of Judah. Then you go to Jeremiah 14:2. The Lord himself came out of that tribe of Judah, which is dark-skinned, man, all right? Kodor, dark-skinned people. And it only makes sense, all right? You're not going to have the second greatest power in the universe, our Lord, come back and be able to get sunburn and skin cancer from the sun. That just doesn't make any sense, all right? But the so-called Jew, all right, they have enemies over there in the Middle East because 35 nations don't recognize them as a state, man, okay? You have one nation that they're currently doing backdoors deal with is Saudi Arabia, which the House of Saud, the Saudi royal family, they're also crypto Jews, okay? Whether they know it or not. Because what the so-called Jew like to do is he like to adopt different names. Like he'll take on the last name of an ethnic culture that he doesn't own. Heck, they stole our nationality. And they're doing that when they go undercover with the Saudi Arabians and stuff. Just look at Eli Cohen. All right? But when you get into look at a lot of prominent figures, you find out that they're so-called Jews, man. Abraham Lincoln, his last name was Springsteen. He was a so-called Jew. All right? Lenin. Okay? He was a so-called Jew. I forgot his real name. But even this guy, Trotsky, who started the Bolshevik Revolution, which put Russia into that war, he was a so-called Jew. And I forgot his also real name. But when you start to look up the real name of a lot of these prominent politicians that lead nations into wars, you find out that they're all so-called Jews, man. So the so-called Jews have been running this world through manipulation, financial dominance, financial monopoly, okay? Pretty much lies. And the Bible foretells that all these things would happen, and these things that I'm describing are indicators of who the wicked is, who Satan is on the planet Earth. Okay? And I could get banned for what I'm saying. My YouTube channel can get shut down because guess what? They run YouTube. They own Google. So-called. They own everything, man. Not at their own power, but at the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Okay? And promotion doesn't come from east to west, no, whatever. Promotion comes from the Most High. But Romans 9:17 tells us that the Most High build this so-called Jew up, the so-called white race up as a whole, put them in their pedestal in their kingdom, that he may bring them down, just like he did with Pharaoh. Now going back to the topic at hand, it's revealed that ISIS was the one that attacked that K-1 air base and killed a so-called American. That American was an Iraqi spy. Dude was about an American for about a year or so, man, all right? But that was to trigger the events leading to pinning Iran as the world's bad guy, and to break up the deal that Iran was about to make with Saudi Arabia, because the trust between Saudi Arabia and the United States is falling apart, man. Okay? because the technology that Saudi Arabia is buying from the United States is very dated, okay? Their missile defense systems can't do anything against low-level drones and cruise missiles, all right? Because the defense systems that the United States and Britain and Germany are giving these guys are built for the 90s and 80s, you know, for ballistic missiles. Iran could attack Saudi oil fields using cruise missiles and drones. All you have to do is fly below radar. So this dude, Qasem Soleimani, was willing to broker a deal with Saudi Arabia. And Israel didn't want that. The Zionists didn't want that, man. They'd rather have these guys fighting. And that's really their goal. Their goal is to have all these nations around us fighting each other through different ideologies over land, whatever. As long as they're fighting each other, we don't have to use our own people. Okay? Meanwhile, the rate of the so-called Jewish family over there in the land of Israel right now is 4 kids per family. So they're trying to increase their numbers, man, and take over that area. But as it says in the book of Jeremiah, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, which over there is right now is Tel Aviv. And they don't have the true claim to that land. Okay? That's why, pursuant to the book of 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, all these plagues and calamity and wars that you see are going on over there, and there'll never be peace in that land. You can't, no matter how much siege you do against the so-called Palestinians, because they're not the real Palestinians, they're not the real Philistines. The real Philistines are the so-called Africans today, primarily of the Sudan area, or they're Northern Africans. Okay, so as it says in the book of Isaiah, a veil or a covering has been put on all these nations of their true nationality and identity. You know? But everybody you see on the planet Earth come from Noah, right? And his 3 sons. So, biblical nationality does matter. And the so-called white man knows that. That's how come he's doing everything to cover it. But we're doing the work of the Lord and bringing out the true information of the matter. So with the death of Qasem Soleimani, that trade deal broke apart, okay? And Qasem Soleimani was a top target on people that Israel wanted wiped out. The state of Israel has a hit list, and Qasem Soleimani was at the top of it. And they approached Donald Trump about killing him. Donald Trump refused because of the backlash. His agreement was, okay, I'll bomb him, I'll kill him if you kill 1 American. And the Mossad, they put it in motion, man. Now, if you're privy to this information, right, you'll think to yourself, how the heck can I trust the United States? How the heck can I trust the state of Israel to be allied with these people if they're willing to go through backdoor deals to wipe out top general and officials, man? You know, without the declaration of war by Congress. That was a mafia-style hit, man. So that's putting these other nations in a sense of fear and a sense of distrust, man. That's how come it says in Obadiah, them that eat that bread that was covenant, that had a covenant with you, they're gonna have to renege on that, man. Even your closest allies. Talking about United States and Israel, man. Even your closest allies are gonna turn their back on you because you can't be trusted, man. Really, as they brought out in RT, this dude's death helped his goals of exposing of who's really pulling strings and who's the real terrorist. There was also bringing out the fact that if you look at Libya, right, which they overthrew Gaddafi, again as a part of PNAC, Project for a New American Century, another enemy of the state of Israel, because of their oil, the type of oil they had, all right, it cost 1/3 less to produce Libyan oil than Saudi Arabian oil. So they wanted Libya out the picture. How was that done? Thanks to 9/11, man. And then let's say, and they put out the BS that's because Gaddafi was that wanted to deviate from the dollar. That's something he wanted to do, but that wouldn't have hurt the dollar. So they do that, man. They punch out a lot of information because they know there's truth out there. So to cover the truth, you give out half truths, man. And then what they do is they get so technical and so deep with it because this man is very crafty. Is he'll set up a network that puts out nothing but bullshit news, right? He'll put out a network that puts out like 95% bullshit news in the main media. And then when true information comes out, 100% true information comes out, what he'll do is he'll release that in that outlet that serves you 95% lies, 95% bullshit. So when you see the actual truth, or you put the actual truth in a media outlet that 95% tell lies, people are going to say, well, no, that's bullshit. They always tell a lie. You know what I'm saying? So, as this dude George Orwell says, which that was his book name, telling the truth is becoming a revolutionary act, man. Why ban people? Why take down people's channels? Because there's power in truth. And really, this internet thing is pissing them off. Because they could execute a lot of plans quicker back in the olden days prior to the internet. Because word wouldn't get out. Now they have to do things to prepare for that. This whole thing with Qasem Soleimani was big. It was big, man. Killing a vice president, in a sense, without the approval of Congress, that's an act of war. And who was behind it? Well, you guessed it, man. So-called Jew, so-called Zionist Jew over there in Israel, man. But really, the Mossad is behind this, man. Because getting back to the topic at hand, this dude's death, the actions acted out by the Mossad and causing the death of Qasem Soleimani is furthering what we read about in Joel, the 3rd chapter. This World War III, this gathering of all the nations. And why is it the Middle East? Why is it the Middle East, man? All these different superpowers, Russia, China, Korea, United States, France, Germany, all need a part or some type of peace, some type of alliance, some type of a deal with the Middle East. Why is it not the West Indies? You know? Why is they not fighting over Australia? It's the Middle East because that is the Valley of Jehoshaphat. This is where the Mossad is gathering all these nations together that all have a certain stake or a certain interest with one of these different Middle Eastern countries, man. To set the stage for World War III, because all it takes is thanks to something called entangling alliances, which is pretty much if you jump my man's, we all jumping in. That's the same thing happening right now, but on a more grandiose scale. You know? So the truth has been blown. ISIS was behind the death of this dude, Qasem Soleimani. It wasn't a preemptive strike, all right? We know that ISIS, all right, is funded by the United States and Israel. You have certain Israeli agents that pose as Wahhabi extremists, all right, to instigate war, man, to create a state of constant destabilization. These nations are waking up to it. And ultimately, it's going to trickle into a point where the big bad Russia, one of their interests, one of their investments over there is going to cause them, all right, to take on this bully. Ain't it crazy how a small nation like the state of Israel has a big bad bully and a smaller country? I'm talking about in comparison, because Iran is not small. These two small Middle Eastern territories have these giant powers behind them. Just like the Bible prophesied, man. Just like the Bible prophesied, man. So this thing is true. Isaiah 55:11. His word shall not go out void. Isaiah 14:24. As he has spoken, so shall it come to pass. There's no counsel against the Most High's word. Okay, so when the Most High deems it time for this place to go, it is going to go. All right? And this thing is becoming more and more evident that this place is going to be destroyed. All right? In a coming World War III. All right, so with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh.